Hi everyone, I am here with a review of Viola lesson number 3, and this week was all about creating new notes on the D string by putting the fingers of our left hand down on the D string. So before we look at our lesson book homework, let's just take a minute to talk about the 3 notes that we learned. So if you have your viola out, you can do this along with me. If not, I would encourage you to pause the video and go grab it because this will be helpful to solidify some of those skills that we worked on this week. So I'm going to put my viola up in our beautiful posture that we've been working on. And before I even put any fingers down, I want to show you from this angle what my thumb looks like over here on this side of the neck. So a lot of people are very tempted to hold their viola like this, kind of cradle it in that part of their hand. That makes it really difficult to put your fingers down. So what I'm looking for when we play is that your thumb is right down here on the neck, just like the very top part of your thumb. It's just nice and relaxed there. And coming over to this side, when I'm using my fingers on the string, I should be using my fingertips. So should be using that part of your finger rather than doing this and smushing your fingers. So we're looking for nice fingertips. In fact, your hand should kind of look like a circle as you're playing. The other nice thing about this week is that it's going to be pretty easy for your right hand, the hand that's doing the plucking, because basically every note we're playing this week is on the D string. So you're just plucking the D string over and over again. The challenging part is changing the notes in your left hand. So I'm going to get my left thumb over here all set. My fingers are ready to go down. If I don't put any fingers down, though, the note is D. If I put one finger down, the note is E. 2 fingers gives me the note F sharp, and 3 gives me the note G. Okay, it's really important that you're pressing nice and hard with those fingers. If you get this kind of sound, it means you're probably not pressing hard enough, or you might be on the wrong string. Make sure you look down and that you really are playing on the D string. Let's do that one more time. So no fingers down is D, 1 finger down is E, 2 fingers down is F sharp, and 3 fingers down is G. Everyone has tapes on their fingerboard showing them where to put their fingers. You'll probably notice that there is a bit of a space between your first and second finger, but your second and third finger actually are quite close together. That's because between F sharp and G, we have something called a half step. And you don't need to really worry about what that means right now, but just know that that means that your fingers are a little bit closer together. So there's a nice space between fingers 1 and 2, and then 2 and 3 are really nice and close together. So let's take a look here at our lesson book. This is page 6 in your lesson book, or you might have a photocopy at home. And up here it says new notes, G, F sharp, and E, using fingers 3, 2, and 1. So that's exactly what we just learned. You might be thinking, we already knew a note called G, and you are correct. We last week learned our open G string, but the musical alphabet only has 7 letters in it, so eventually we just start repeating ourselves. So you'll learn more than 1 G, and actually right now you know 2 Gs. So the one this week is always 3 fingers on the D string. Looking down here, it's also really important that we know how to read the notes on the staff. So here's a staff with the alto clef here, and here's that G we were just talking about, and you see how this is written in a different spot than the G that we learned last week. So anytime you see a note written on this very top line, or the 5th line, we count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on this top line, you'll know that that note is 3 fingers on the D string. Looking over here to F sharp, that's our 2-finger note, and anytime you see a note in this top space, you'll know that that is 2 fingers on the D string for the note F sharp. This symbol over here is our sharp sign. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And then right here on the 4th line, 1, 2, 3, 4 from the top, from the bottom, is the note E. That is 1 finger on the D string. And this is our reminder down here to use the tip of your finger, and your left hand should look like a circle. So now I'm going down to number 10, called G and D tune. That's telling me that probably the only notes we're playing in this tune are G and D. And we can see the top note here is the 3-finger on the D string G, the one that we were just reading up here in the What's New box. So our very first note is going to be 3 fingers on the D string. And I also see some notes of open D, and other than that, I don't see anything in number 10 besides those 2 notes. So let's go through number 10 and read the notes together. Here we go. G, 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 rest, G, rest. D, 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 rest. G, rest. G, 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 rest. D, rest. D, 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 G, 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 rest. Now, before we play this, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice, which is we're going to start with our 3 fingers down for the note G, and then we have to take them all off to play the note D. And it's very tempting to just throw your fingers off the fingerboard like that. But then you've got yourself into a bit of trouble because you don't know where to put them back down when it's time to put them back down. So I like to use something called helicopter or hover fingers. And I'll turn around so you can see, it's a little bit easier to see from this angle. But as I'm playing my G, oops, when it's time to take them off for the D, I just barely take them off the string. They're hovered right over where they need to go back down so that I can very easily switch between D, G, D, G. So I'm going to be looking for those helicopter or hover fingers this week. For number 10, let's set our 3 fingers down. 1, 2, 3. Make sure you're on those fingertips. Get your right hand ready to pluck on the D string. Remember, anchor that thumb is going to be very helpful to do that. Get that index finger on the G string, on the D string. And here we go with number 10. G, 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 rest. G down to D, 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 and back to G, G, and G, 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 down to D, D, stay on D, 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 G, G, G. Great, so if you got that, we're going to move on to number 11. If not, feel free to go back and do that one again. So I'm looking at number 11 now, F sharp and D tune. Now there's one thing that's kind of strange about this, and that is that the first note does have the sharp sign next to it, but many of them in this measure do not. There is a rule in music that if one note has a symbol next to it, like a sharp or a flat or a natural, then all of the notes in that one measure will also be sharp or flat or natural. So in this case, we see the first F is marked as sharp. That means the rest of them are marked as sharp as well. Same thing over here with this measure, right? The first one is marked, so that means the other 2 are sharp. Okay, so remember F sharp is our 2 finger note. So I'm putting my viola up, I'm putting down 1, 2 fingers, getting ready to pluck. Just kidding, we didn't read through the notes yet. Let's read through the notes. Here we go for number 11. For right now, I'm just going to call it F, not F sharp. It makes it a little bit easier to read. So here we go. F, 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 rest, F, rest, D, 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 rest, F, rest, F, 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 rest, D, rest, D, 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 F, 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 rest. Now we're going to play it. So put the viola up. Put down 1, 2 fingers, get yourself ready to pluck, and here we go with 11. F, 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 rest, F, down to D, 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 rest, F, rest, F, 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 down to D, D, stay there, D, 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 F, F, F. Very good. Looking down at number 12, E and D tune. You should notice that all 3 of these are very similar to one another. It's just giving you practice playing each of these 3 notes. So just like the other ones, we're starting with the note E, 1 finger on the D string. There is a little tricky note over here, and you'll probably recognize this as your open A string. So I always call this the sneaky A. They kind of sneak it in there, and if you're not looking ahead, you might miss that. So I'm just warning you of that one right now. Let's go through and read our notes for number 12. Here we go. E, 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 rest, E, rest. D, 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 rest, E, rest. E, 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 rest, A, rest. D, 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 E, E, D, rest. So let's get ready to play this one. Remember, E is just one finger. Okay, so I'm putting that one finger down and using my fingertip, getting ready to pluck. Here we go with number 12. E, 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 rest. E, down to D, 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 rest. E, rest. E, 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 pop over to A, back to D, 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 E, E, D, rest. Nice work. So 10, 11, and 12 are the ones that I'm really wanting everyone to have down by next week. So take some time to practice through those. I did say that 13 would be a good challenge if you're feeling really confident about these notes. If you take a look at number 13, it uses all of the notes on the D string that we know so far. So we have our 3-finger G, our 2-finger F sharp, our 1-finger E, and our 0-finger or no-finger open D string. You'll notice there is not a sharp sign next to these Fs, but they are F sharps because over here we have something called a key signature, and the key signature says, hey, for this entire piece of music, all of the Fs are going to be sharp. That's why the sharp is on this the F space right here. So all of the Fs still in this one are F sharps. Let's go through and read our notes. G, 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 F, 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 E, 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 D, 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 rest, D, 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 E, 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 F, 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 G, 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 rest. Good, so you probably noticed the pattern of this exercise is that you start with all 3 fingers on and you gradually take them off until you don't have any, and then you add them back on. So I'm going to set my 3 fingers down, 1, 2, 3. Okay, make sure I'm on the D string, get ready to pluck. Here we go with number 13. G, 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 F, 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 E, 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 D, 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 rest, D, 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 E, 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 F, 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 G, 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 rest. All right, so that's our review of lesson 3. I hope you found this helpful and will use it as you are practicing these new notes this week. So happy practicing, and I will see you at our lesson next week.